Welcome to another episode of Fluently Speaking with your host, Rod Fluellen. Today, I've had the honor, man, of having one of my brothers, Jamaine Mack, as a guest today. Thank you for being on the show, man. How you doing, Mr. Mack?
Man, Rob, I appreciate you having me on the show, man. I'm doing great, man. I'm blessed, bro. How are you?
I'm doing fine, man. Thanks for asking, man. And before we get into this very important topic of fatherhood, I do want to just talk about some statistics that I did see, and that just kind of caught my eye to make me want to do this show surrounding fatherhood. So, according to the statistics, man, believe it or not, um, the number of single families have increased almost tripled just within the past 30 years, and of that, the number of youth who agree that they do not have a positive male role model also triple. And so it's no coincidence what we seeing surrounding our youth in terms of them getting in trouble. So to me, it's a direct correlation of just truly not having like a positive male role model in their lives. So this topic is very important of fatherhood, man. And I couldn't think of no other better father, husband, and dude than you. So that's why I'm very honored to have you on today's show, man.
Man, I
So
greatly appreciate the shout out. Thank you.
yes, sir. So man, normally I usually do like some would you rather type questions just to break the ice. But man, I feel like this is a very important topic, so I kind of want to just dive right in, man. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
All right. So the first question, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into fatherhood?
Yeah, I grew up in Hopkins, man, South Carolina. Went to Lower Richland High School, played against you when we was in high school on that football, ran track against each other and stuff, and we connected later on at Winston-Salem State. I grew up in a single parent home. Uh, four of the seven of us, of my brothers, we all grew up in the same home, and the other three, they grew up in different homes. But coming into fatherhood, man, when I found out that my wife, my girlfriend at the time, and then we later married, uh, was gonna become parents, and it was exciting. It was, it caused nerves. I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? But I was ready to take on the challenge. It was just one of the greatest feelings knowing that I was about to be a dad soon.
Okay, yeah, that's great, man. And did you always want to be a father, or was it something that grew on you?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I always wanted to be a dad. When I was young, when you're a kid and you're thinking about, what your family's going to look like in the future and stuff, kind of pondering on things. I was like, man, I'm going to have a big family. I want to have, 4 or 5 kids, but that didn't happen. But yeah, so I always wanted to be a dad regardless.
Okay. And how did your own dad influence the kind of dad you are today?
So my dad, man, growing up being an 80s baby, growing up in the 90s, parents were a little tough, man. My dad was tough on us. He was military, and he was hard, man. He was disciplined. And that was one of the things that kind of carried over into me as far as like the discipline, not the disciplinary, which is a difference in my opinion. My dad was very strict on us. He was a little hard on us, but at the same time, that built a little bit of grit. It built that character. Um, you know, um, Back in them days, you used to get whippings for everything. You get
Yeah.
whipping for almost anything. But, I mean, we survived back then. It's a little different today, but my dad had an influence on me as far as like the disciplinary stuff.
Okay. And how would you describe your parenting style?
My parenting style, man, I'm very relaxed. I'm very chilled. Um, I'm the type of parent that I love to have fun, do all sorts of things, but you gotta know when to draw that line of being the fun parent and then, having that discipline as well. And being a role model as well. You gotta throw that in there too, and making sure that your kids are respecting you as well as not being afraid of you.
Yeah, that's real good, man. And so what values or lessons are most important for you to pass down to your kids?
Oh man, mannerisms. I'm real big on mannerisms. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Yes, sir, no, sir. Just doing the right thing, man. Integrity, doing the right thing when nobody is looking. those are the things that I'm really big on when it comes to my kids is mannerisms, how you treat people, how you talk to people, just being a good person. And that's what I really want to instill into them.
Okay, yeah. How do you balance being like a supportive dad, but yet setting boundaries?
Yeah, so being supportive, my kids, they'll come to me with all sorts of things, ideas, things they want to do, play sports or go to the park or, let's go travel somewhere. So, I try to support them in any way that I possibly can without spoiling them as much as I can. Try not to overdo it, but, making sure that I am supporting them in whatever they want to do. Such as my oldest, Cam, he wants to go to college. He's been set on college since like fifth or sixth grade. He's now in the eighth grade. And, we try to push him to, take certain classes, be a part of certain programs and do certain things. That's a part of supporting what he wants to do in the long run, as far as like getting to, the college level. And then, of course, my younger one, Manny, he loves sports. And so what other way to support him for the love of sports is by signing him up for those sports. But, just to the second part of that question is, setting the boundaries. You got to set some sort of boundaries. You got to have some sort of boundaries when it comes to, are you going to be this fun parent all the time that just, give your child everything? But when they have those little slip ups, are you going to discipline them as well? And so you do have to have those boundaries and those limits like, hey, you can't go out here and get everything you want when you want it all the time, especially if you're slipping up. There's going to be some times where I'm going to say no to you. And so that's kind of how I try to balance that.
Oh, that's really good, man. And what's something you swore you would never do as a dad, but you do now?
Man, that's a tough one, man. Something that I wouldn't do. I did now. That's a hard question to answer, man, because I can't think of something that I swore I wouldn't do that I'm doing right now. Because like I'm just so easygoing when it comes to my kids. I almost tell them yes to almost anything. Um, or like I don't know, man. That's a tough one for me.
Okay, okay. And so, what's the hardest part about being a father?
The hardest part, hmm, the hardest part about being a dad, man, is not being able to do something for your kids that you really want to do for them. Well, and you may not be able to do it right now, but maybe you could do something like later on down the road. Like, for example, Cam's been talking about going to Spain. And so, yeah, I would love to fly to Spain this year, but that's not going to happen. But maybe that's something that we can set on doing like later on down the road, maybe in about a year or two. But that's something that's very achievable. I think we just got to take the right steps in order to get there.
Gotcha, man. That's really good, man. And something that I struggle with as being a father, man, is finding a balance, man, where it's kind of like I give in to my son or my kids a lot too. And
Hmm.
I want them to kind of have like an upbringing that I didn't have. I was also raised in a single family household. My mom did a good job of raising us, but it was some things that we just couldn't do because we just didn't have the finances and stuff. So man, I just didn't want my kids to like struggle. But then on the flip side of that, I feel like sometimes I took that grit out of them. So
Hmm.
just trying to find that balance of still having them have that dog mentality, kind of sort of,
Yeah.
but without making them kind of like kind of struggle like I did growing up. So that's something that I think is hard for me, and I'm still trying to find that balance.
Yeah, man, you brought up a good point, man. I feel like, us being, born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, like you did have a different sort of grit. You were able to roam around outside and, that being outside builds that character. It's sad to say you ride around in some neighborhoods, you don't see a whole bunch of kids running around in the neighborhood. So that helped build the grit back in those days as well. And so I think we are a little bit more protective in today's society than, our parents were back then. Even though our parents loved us and protect us, it was just a different type of lifestyle back then than what it is today.
Yeah, that's a great point, man. That's a real good
Yeah,
point. So,
yeah.
what's have been the most unexpectedly joyful part of fatherhood?
Man, yo, so, we grew up playing football, track, and stuff like that. But watching my kids play soccer, um, especially Cam. Cam plays soccer for the middle school, and he plays for a local club here where we live at. But that has been one of the most joyful things is watching my kids play sports. The great, crazy thing, growing up, man, and playing sports myself, I didn't watch sports like that. I think I have way more of appreciation, after my time has passed, and now I can just sit in the stands or, sit at home and watch sports. And I think one of the things that I just absolutely love to do is to watch my kids play or watch sports with my kids. Because during football season, me and Manny will watch sports and we'll go to games. During the soccer season, me and Cam, we watched a game yesterday with Barcelona and Real Madrid. And, I find myself screaming and yelling and cheering at the TV just like he is. So, that's one of the things that I never thought I would really get into is like watching sports, watching my kids play sports, play soccer specifically, because I didn't know anything about it. I thought it was kind of boring, but man, there's so much action in soccer, man. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Oh, that's good, man. That's really good. And this is a very important question, I think. How do you
Mm.
take care of your own mental health while showing up for your kids?
Man, that's so important, man. Taking care of my own mental health, man. First of all, that starts with a happy home, man. You got to have a happy home, happy setting. Things got to be in order at the house. Your home should be your place of peace, even though it could be a little chaotic with two boys running around and doing all sorts of things. So just making sure that there is peace in the house. And what I mean by that is between you and your spouse, between you and your children. Not having no conflicts or anything like that. Another way that I taking care of my mental health on a more personal level is that I was going to counseling through the military, through the VA, and that has really kind of helped me with a lot of the things that I was dealing with or have dealt with in my struggles is by going and seeking counseling myself. A lot of black men specifically, we gear away from that. We don't go towards the counseling thing because it may seem as weak, you're vulnerable. You got to be the strong. You always got to be the strong man all the time, but man, you can't be strong 24/7. Sometimes you got to go and seek help, talk to somebody, let it out, vent, and get that professional feedback. So that's one of the things, well, that's a few of the things that I've done for myself personally is go get counseling. Because just to give you a little background on that, I was deployed and, coming back from a year-long deployment, it's an adjustment when you come back home. Regardless of whatever type of deployment you have, there's some sort of adjustment that you're going to have to go through. And so, in order for me to come back home and be a little bit more balanced and stable, I took it upon myself to get that, counseling.
Oh, that's really good, man. That's really good, and I'm glad you took advantage of some of those benefits that the military, do offer, and you seek counseling. And I'm glad you went against the stereotype too to get counseling, because like you said, a lot of people, especially in the black community, for whatever reason, man, they don't take advantage of resources like counseling that's out there that can really help us. So I do salute you for that too. That's something I'm gonna look into myself actually, because that is something I kind of struggle with too, man. Because, like you said, we are human, but a part of us is like, man, we a man, we got to be strong all the time. But every now and then we do hit that wall. And so you are absolutely right about that. But let me ask you another question, man, because see, in my mind, I'm still young. I still think I'm cool. But in my kids' mind, man, I'm washed up, bro. So hey, so what do you ever try to like find your like do you ever find yourself trying to learn like the new lingo to try to keep up with your kids, man, or you just say forget
Yeah, man, I do, man. I gotta keep up with it, man, because I need to know what these kids talking about out here, man.
it?
I got a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old, so I gotta keep up. I be asking questions, when they playing online, the video games online with their friends, I listen in on it, man. I be that nosy parent because, I wanna know what's being said. I don't want my kids to be taught certain things, when they're interacting with other people online and on the video games and stuff, which I'm a little lenient when it comes to them playing games and talking to people online or talking to their friends online. Not necessarily like unknown folks. But yeah, I definitely try to keep up with the lingo, man. Manny will call you out real quick when it comes to certain things, man. He'll just call you old and nah, dad, you need to go sit this one out, stuff like that, man. So yeah, I definitely try to keep up with what's going on out here today, especially with me having young kids.
Yeah, that's funny, man. Yeah. So how has becoming a dad changed your relationship with your wife?
Man, so I feel like when you see a a woman uh carry a baby and then they have the baby, that's one of the strongest things that you can possibly ever see. And for my wife to do that two times, um I mean, man, she's one of the strongest women I know, man. She's the background. I mean, she's the backbone. She is she's, just seeing her go through that and give me these two beautiful boys, is one of the greatest things that she could have ever done for me. And I make sure that she is well taken care of. For one, because she's my wife, and two, because, she we decided to have these kids together. And so you just gotta give kudos to her, man. And I feel like sometimes this may be a little bit sort of off the topic, but sometimes, as you have kids and you're going through life and, um, the focus is on the kids all the time. Sometimes you do have to set aside that time to make time for you and your spouse as well. And so that's what we try to do. And counseling actually helps with that too. Making sure y'all really back in and remember to date your wife. Remember to, go out with your wife, have those conversations, be intentional about things with your spouse. So I feel like along with having children and getting that professional help along with it, I mean, things have been really good, man. Really good.
Oh, that's real good. That's real good advice too, man. That sound like you need to write a book. Forget Steve Harvey. We got Jamaine Mack. Yeah. So in what ways have fatherhood changed you?
Oh man, I feel like fatherhood for me, man, it made me grow up. It made me be a lot more mature. It humbles you too. And it's not about you anymore. You got this mouth to feed, and I just want to be there for every single moment of that time that my child is in the home. And then after when they move out and go on, I still want to be a part. I know it's going to be a little challenging at first, man, because, you're so used to these kids running around in your home doing all sorts of stuff and, they're dependent on you. Um, but, just having children, man, it's just one of the greatest things, man. And I feel like it humbled me. It made me a better man today, than I was prior to having children.
Oh, that's real good, man. What's something you learned from your kids?
Something I learned man, I think I learn from them almost every single day, man.
Yeah.
Um, Patience, man. You got to have patience with children. If you got kids, you got to have patience. They're going to make mistakes. Things are going to happen. Things are going to break. And that's what I had to learn to deal with. And not, be so quick to fuss at them and lash out at them about this or that. You just got to understand, like, hey, he's only 4 years old. They're going to do, 4-year-old things, or he's 9 years old. They're going to do 9-year-old things. So you gotta have patience. I think, with kids, with my children specifically, it taught me a lot of patience.
Yeah, that's good. I can also agree with that in regards to patience too. My kids have also taught me patience. Another thing they taught me is there's more than one way to do things, man. Because at one point I was just so focused on this how I was raised, so this how I'm going to raise my kids. Not
Yeah,
necessarily because I was raised that way doesn't necessarily mean it's the best way. So
right,
just kind of just finding different ways and allowing them to, like you say, give them room to make those mistakes, which will help them grow versus me always trying to catch them when they fall. So that's
right,
another thing
right.
that I've learned as well.
Yeah,
So
man,
do
I'm
you?
glad you
Yeah.
brought, oh, I was gonna say,
No, you go.
I'm glad, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, man, because it's funny how you said that, I was raised this way, so I'm gonna raise my kids this way, but you kind of found a balance with that and like, it's a different way to do things. See, I was kind of the opposite. I was raised a certain way and I wanted to do things my way. I'm like, I know how I was raised. I'm gonna do things a little bit different. And not to say that I have bad parents or anything like that. It's just that I wanted to do things a little bit differently. And then besides, in today's world, you have to do things a little bit differently. I can't just let my kids just roam around, at young age all over the place, because it's just a different world that we're living in.
Yep, and that actually brings me to my next question. Do you think
Yeah.
fatherhood today is different from your dad's generation?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. From my dad's generation, man, to, as far as like my dad growing up, I'm sure they had it rough, man. It's a whole nother type of upbringing. And then my own upbringing with my dad, man, like I said earlier, he was tough on us, man. He was real tough on us. He was very hard on us. But at the same time, he was a loving dad. You know what I'm saying? My dad loved us, but he showed very tough love. Um, and today's climate, you can't parent like a parent back in the 80s and the 90s. You can't do that today, man. You're gonna wind up in jail. If, if you do
Yeah,
if you do it the way my dad did, you're gonna be in jail somewhere. You're
yeah.
gonna be in jail. But yeah, man, you got to. I don't believe in being like a soft parent. I don't believe in that. Just you always coddling them all the time, and sometimes you gotta let your kids make mistakes. You can't be there for them, 24/7 of the time, and try to make everything so soft and cushion for them because it's not a soft and cushion world that they go into. At some point you got to kind of let them go just a little bit, piece by piece as they gradually get older. But I am a protective parent. I will say that I'm very protective of my children. So I think that's a little bit of the difference as far as like the disciplinary back in the day versus the disciplinary today. It's a little bit different.
Okay. And are there any traditions you want to carry on or start with your kids?
Traditions, man. Um, I've thought about traditions. It's funny that you mentioned that, man. Cam had mentioned something to me, a tradition that he wants to continue that I'm a part of. And, we had that conversation and I was like, man, you know what? If that's what you want to do, you can do it, man. So, you know, unknown, like not even knowing that I have already started, some traditions that I wasn't even aware because, I do have my kids that are watching me do things. They see that I'm a part of stuff. They see I'm a part of organizations, that I'm a part of, the church, that I'm a part of, just, the military. So there are some things that they're picking up on that they want to do and continue on that legacy.
That's real good, man. It's funny. It's funny I asked that question as well because I just sat my wife and kids down too and had a conversation. One thing I want to start is every summer I want to take a family trip somewhere, and I want that to carry
Mhm.
on even when my kids they get married and have kids. Just one every summer we just take a family trip somewhere. That's something I want
Yeah.
to start and continue to do.
Man, that's awesome, man. So like not even knowing that it is a tradition. So that's what me and my wife do. We literally try to plan a trip somewhere to take the kids and we do a family trip. And you're absolutely right. I'm pretty sure that's just going to carry on, as I hope my kids do that the same way that we're doing with them is that they, we continue to do family trips, invite the grandparents, stuff like that, when we become grandparents someday, so let us tag along and stuff. We'll try not to hold them back or block they, they little shine or whatever. But yeah, man. Yeah, just taking trips, man. We love to take trips too, man, every summer.
Yeah, man, that's good. And if you can go back and give yourself if like one piece of advice before becoming a dad, what would it be?
Mhm. One piece of advice that I would give myself before becoming a dad. Mm. There's no playbook. There is no playbook to being a dad. This is actually some of the advice that I give to new parents, or, people who are about to be parents. There's no playbook on it, man. You're going to get advice from here. You're going to get advice from there. Some of that advice is going to be good. Some of that advice is going to be bad, but nobody's going to know your child the way you know your child. So you just take everything in stride and, you just try to do the best that you can. But I always tell people, and that's something that I've kind of applied to myself, like there's no playbook. There's no playbook. That's something that I would probably tell myself because when I was, expecting our child, I was like, man, like, I don't know what to do. I need to figure this out. I need to do this. I need to do that. It's almost like you had to have things in order and you have to have all these things lined up. But sometimes, man, it's not going to always work out the way you think it's going to work out. You may want your child to be a football player, but he turns around and want to play basketball, so everything don't work out. You have to have that flexibility. There's no playbook. So that's something that I would probably tell myself. It's just to
Right.
be flexible and then that there's no playbook to it.
Yeah, that's really good. Being flexible, no playbook. One thing I would like to kind of just add if I was when I talk to myself too is it's okay not to have all the answers, and it's okay to allow your child to have like a voice and their opinion. Like you said, man, like I'm a big football guy, and so at one point I was like, he gotta play football. It's no option. But
Mm,
if he come to me today and say, Dad, I don't want to play football anymore, that's fine because he's not me, if that makes sense. But it did take me a while to kind of grow into that mindset and just with other
mm,
stuff as well. So
mm.
that's what I'll add to it. Yep. So what's one moment you never want to forget as a father?
Oh man, moments that I never want to forget. The days that my kids were born. Um, and the first time we went to professional and college, sporting events together. Vacations. Man, there's so many things. I don't want to forget anything, but I can
Yeah,
name a
yeah.
bunch of stuff. But yeah, man, just the day my kids were born, man, like it's almost like I can see it like it was yesterday. It's unbelievable. And sporting events, man, just having that father son time, hanging out at a sporting event, man, like it is so much fun to me. I'm having the time of my life. Like that's to me, those are the moments that I never ever want to forget.
Oh yeah, that's real good, man. And in your opinion, why is fatherhood or the need to have fathers involved with their kids important?
Man, it's so important, man. Everybody needs that dad or father figure because not everybody's fortunate enough to have their dad for whatever, reason or circumstances. It's very important to have a dad in their life so you can see that side of it. You can see that picture, you can see what dad goes through and what he does and, learn from dad. It's too many single parent moms out here, unfortunately, that's carrying all the load. We need dads out here. We need dads that, need to step up, and we need dads to continue doing their things, the one that's doing, right by their children. Regardless of the situation and circumstances, man, you got to show up. You got to show up. You got to be there for them. If you can, I get it. There are some circumstances where dads can't be there, but if you can make a way, you need to make every single way or effort because these children out here need dads. They need to know what it's like to have that sort of protection from their father. They need to know what it's like to have that love from a male in the house or even if he's not in the house, to still have that father show up and be that male role model father figure.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, man. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be transparent. As again,
Mm,
I grew up in a single parent household, and my mom,
yeah.
again, she did a great job for me and my siblings. But one thing she couldn't do was teach me how to be a man. And so my dad lives in a different state. I was pretty
Mm,
much raised in South Carolina. And so with that being said, it wasn't until I was grown before I actually find out what a real man was. Because when I was growing up, I looked up to some of my cousins and other people in the neighborhood who also grew up in a single parent household. So
Yep.
their idea of what a man was really wasn't what a man really is. Like, for example, in their idea, a man has multiple girls. They the man, they the one everybody in the neighborhood is scared of. And so
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of my mentality too growing up. Like, hey, if I'm a man, I gotta have multiple girls. I gotta be quote unquote the bully of the neighborhood. But then as I got
Mm-hmm.
older, I realized like, man, that doesn't make you a man. What makes you a man is doing the right thing,
Yep.
being true to who you are, sticking to that one person, and walking away. Like it doesn't make you
Yeah.
less of a man to walk away from conflict. And I think that's something that I feel like it get misunderstood often, and it's because, in my opinion, the lack of a real man to teaching these young men how to be men. So as a result, they looking up to guys who really don't know how to be a man, or the music, movies,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff, kind of leading them down the wrong path. So I do agree with
Right.
everything you said for for those reasons.
Man, you just to be transparent as well, man, you're absolutely right about walking away. I think that was one of the things that I struggled with so bad because I wanted all the smoke, as these young kids say. I wanted all of it.
Yeah,
Walking away was not an option for me. You know what I'm saying? Unless I'm outnumbered, I ain't walking away. You know,
yeah,
even if it's 2-1 or 3-1, I still ain't walking away. I still think I got the better odds out of, three versus one. But, yeah, you got to learn, to walk away, pick your battles. And what I mean by picking your battles, I'm not talking about a fight. I'm talking about like if somebody's getting into conflict with you or trying to start something with you and get you all riled up, that's not the battle you want to pick, man. You don't want to even face that kind of battle. The kind of battles that you want to pick against is which college you trying to decide to go to, which branch of the military you trying to, decide to go to, what type of job are you looking for? Those are the battles you want to pick right there. You want to have those battles to pick and choose. Like, man, I have all these options. Which route am I going to go? What trade do you want to learn? How many trades do you want to learn? Pick those battles. Conflict. And we got to do better with conflict resolution as a whole, man. Men and women, all of us got to do better.
yeah. That's real good, man. And so I got another question for you, man. How
Yes, sir.
important is it to teach your kids financial literacy?
Oh man, financial literacy is like super important. Coming from Lower Richland, bro, like they didn't teach us that, man. I'm pretty sure y'all probably didn't have it at Northeast either.
We
But
did not.
just growing up, man, like everybody would say, "Oh, you need to save your money for a rainy day." Well, the weatherman said it's raining on Wednesday, so I guess I can go spend my money. Well, we got to do a better job of, teaching how to save money and why to save money. Financial literacy is one of the most critical and most important things that we can learn as a people as a whole, especially in the minority community. It's not just black people, man. It's the minority community as a whole. We need to learn how to put our money to the side, how to invest money, how to save money, make good, sound financial decisions, even when it comes to credit cards, buying cars, leasing a car or buying a car or, going to college, man. We need to have a better understanding because college is super expensive. You got kids that's on the brink of getting to that age where they going to start checking out colleges. Mine's already checking out colleges. And we got to take that into consideration. Like, do we want to continue some sort of cycle where, you know, our kids are going to be in this financial strain when it comes to school after they graduate from college. And we don't want to do that. We also want to talk about, buying homes and buying property. We want to put emphasis on a lot of that stuff. We want to put emphasis on everything that surrounds money. And that's pretty much everything that you touch surrounds around money. I always talk to my kids about needs versus wants. Do you need it or do you want it? Is this a good deal? Is this pack of bacon a better deal than this pack of bacon? We look at stuff like that, man. Because as you know, hey, bacon high, man,
Yeah.
food is high. Food is high, man. So, You got to get that Food Line brand instead of getting that big name brand, man. You know, you got to do stuff like that. And it's okay, and that's totally fine. That's how you keep more money in your pocket, by spending wisely and knowing the value of a dollar.
Yeah, that's real good, man. And again, Mr. Mack, man, I would like to thank you for taking out the time to be a part of this podcast, man. Is there any last words, anything you want to say before we get off?
Man, Flu, I got to give you a shout out, man. I appreciate you and everything that you have been doing, with your podcast, with your family, with your job. Everything that you got your hands on just turns into gold in my eyes. I brag about you a lot. You may not know this, but I actually brag about you a lot, man, because I know a little bit of your story before college. I know your college story. And then I know the man who you are today. So I'm very proud of you, brother. You keep up the great work, man, and love you.
Hey, love you too, bro, and I appreciate that. And I also brag on you too, man, because I'm so proud of you and Savannah, man. Y'all did it the right way, man. Y'all legit living like a lifetime story, man. And me, man, wow, I had a Tyler Perry movie cut. Yeah, man, but I'm
You
proud of
foolish,
y'all.
man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks,
Hey, no
man.
problem, man. And thanks for being on, man. And tell everybody I say hey. And everybody,
Sure
man,
will.
thanks for tuning in. See you next week.
All right.
All right.